church, and Happy New Year. Pastor, please, I want to beg and crave your indulgence. Give me additional time. What took God 1 year cannot take me 2 minutes. It all started early last year. Every year, my husband and I, we usually travel just briefly for our holiday. And so last year, we decided that we were going to go to the US. When we got back, about 2 or 3 few days later, I started having stomach pain. And after, you know, initially they thought we actually thought it was food poisoning from the plane. So I was rushed to the hospital. After spending like a week, I wasn't getting better. They tried all sorts. And this is me. I used to boast that I had the same grace with Pastor, because, you know, he used to say he had not been to the hospital for 10 years. I only go to the hospital to give birth and I go back. My children, my husband, we don't even have malaria. The worst that would, maybe you are just tired. So I wasn't getting better. They tried. They couldn't find what was wrong with me. So at some point, I thought because the doctor that was treating me was a Muslim, I told my husband, move me away from this hospital and move me to another hospital. We didn't know any other hospital, so we went to another hospital that I felt that the doctor was a pastor. Nice hospital, big edifice and all of that. Very good man. But for some reason, initially, before I left the other hospital, they started treating me for malaria. I said I didn't have malaria. They did their check. They said I didn't have malaria. So I told them, move me out of this hospital. My husband felt I was too troublesome, but I insisted. We got to the other hospital. They did the CT scan, did all the tests, and they said, oh, intestinal obstruction. They just had to do one small surgery. It would take just 1 hour. I said, what causes intestinal obstruction? They said, once you've had CS before, you know. And we agreed. I Googled. Okay, we agreed. 1 hour surgery took 10.5 hours. And after that, 3 days later, I discovered that I was incontinent. Incontinent means I could not hold urine. And after that, the pain that took me to the hospital did not leave. I was still in that very much pain. So they were giving me narcotics. When I mean narcotics, I don't know, fentanyl, very strong pain medications. I was on fentanyl and a combination of narcotics every 4 hours to take the pain away. And mind you, I was incontinent. So after a while, I started wearing diaper. The doctor said, oh, don't worry, there's nothing wrong with you. American Embassy uses this hospital. Don't worry, your body's just traumatized. You know, you've never been sick and all of that. Every day they keep writing one medication or the other. One medication or the other. My husband traveled twice to go and get medication because we had to even connect with the Pharmaceutical Association of Nigeria. Once they write one medication, we can't find it, we send it to them. Some will say, oh, they can only get it in India, they can only get it in London. You know, my husband went to, it was really tough. At some point, my husband called Pastor. Pastor will call me and tell me, this sickness is not unto death. I have prayed about it, I am convinced it is not unto death. Anytime they give one, you know, after a while, they had to cut me. You know, I have a big T. They cut me open. They took out my appendix, took out my uterus, took out so many things. And yet, I was still with that pain. My daughter would say to me, whenever the doctors come and they give you one negative news, my daughter would say to me, Mommy, what is your faith saying? I want to know what your faith is saying. Do you want to accept it or you want, because it is not your own? You know, and I really thank God for the kind of family that I have. Church, after God, Please thank my husband for me. He's a very good man. When they do well, we should actually, my husband was with me. He will bat me. He will dress my wound, because after a while, the wound, after the stitches, the wound started opening up. It did not seal. So the doctor said, oh, don't worry, it's normal. You know, you have to stitch up to 9, and they have to go 9 levels deep and all of that. It was not normal for me. I couldn't leave the hospital because I was afraid of sepsis. Otherwise, it would get infected. Mind you, I was still on diaper. My husband, even when I didn't like myself, I was irritating myself, my husband would go around, buy all the female diapers. And I could not, you know, it was just, I came to the lowest. At some point, I told God, I'm keeping malice with you, because you told me that you would never leave me nor forsake me. Where were you when this was happening? I pray, I fast, I do everything. And I could not, with this, all of this happening, we couldn't tell my parents. It was really, really tough for us. Then, after a while, they said they needed to take me back to surgery to sew up, to do the stitches again. Stitches that they were supposed to do, they said it would just take 2 hours. 7 hours. Then the third time, they said, oh, they want to go take me back to surgery to go and check why I was still in pain and why I was incontinent.
Third surgery.
That's the third surgery. And why I was incontinent. They took me back 4 hours and came back. It was just, I didn't even know what to say. You know, when you are almost giving up. At some point, I could see my body lying down. I was out of my body, and I could see my body lying down. But you know, there was one day I actually saw myself in the village, and I never said this to anyone except my husband, and then just a few days ago I told